Hello and welcome to the Curated Beauty podcast. I'm Jessica Christie, CEO of Beauty Culture Med Spa and the founder of the new functional and regenerative business, Cultured Wellness. From my start as a physician assistant to now not only being a practitioner but leading my own businesses, I've been on a unique journey through health, beauty, and entrepreneurship. Join us as we explore everything from skincare secrets to leadership lessons. Whether you're passionate about beauty or striving to balance life's challenges, this is your space to connect, learn, and shine. Let's dive in. Welcome to our joint podcast today. I am Jessica Christie, and then I also have this amazing guest with me, and I am her guest, Dr. Fitzgerald.
Woohoo! I'm so excited about today. We've been talking about doing this for a while now.
And although this isn't the walk on the beach, if you are watching this on a YouTube clip or you're just listening, you can just imagine what we're actually doing, which we're both in our respective offices, walking on our walking pads, which is a huge influence from Dr. Fitzgerald. And we first walked, though, together on the beaches of Florida and really got to develop a friendship.
Absolutely. It was completely a God thing that you and I both decided to escape the winter of Michigan and Chicago and go to pretty much, we were 10 miles away from each other?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And I don't even know how we ended up really following one another on social media, but we found each other that way and then just continue to notice more similarities through chaotic time in the world.
You think?
That little thing we know is
slightly.
2020. And just that there's a different way of looking at the whole concept of health and wellness. Mm-hmm. And you had such an established business already in wellness.
Like we were talking about before you hit record, you came from established aesthetics. I came from established functional medicine wellness. And then I added aesthetics and you added wellness and all of the
regenerative things.
Regenerative things. Exactly. But I opened at the end of 2020. So it was not easy. And I bought my current business was actually a day spa. So they just had estheticians and massage therapists. And I turned it into the medical spa because I had a vision of, I want to have a place that offers everything I believe in. Mm-hmm. And I had just really been introduced to the whole concept of functional medicine and how much we are not taught in our traditional medical training. So PA school is just like MD school. Y'all are basically, the curriculum is heavily influenced by big pharma, and you're completely unaware of that until you're out in the system and you recognize our healthcare system is really just set up to keep people in it and sick long term, because that's what makes a lot of money. Yeah. So I just wanted to open a place that offered all of the things that I believe in. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm 44 now, but I started Botox on myself at about 36 or 37. So granted, the Botox is not as natural as all of the other things. I've always been very open and honest that I've been doing neurotox, and I believe that's why I don't look 44.
Yeah, so 100%. Okay, there's something that I always look to your wellness stories as a sort of like a big sister mentor, where I feel like you do a really good job at addressing the hard issues and the hard questions that people come at you with. And one of them is, okay, you're a wellness functional doc that doesn't accept insurance. And I would really love to because I think that this is such a relevant topic. You are really good at giving little bits of tough love when needed and holding people accountable. And I just want you to share your viewpoint on this new field and why we are all sort of concierge cash at this point.
For sure. I actually just spoke at a conference at WorldLink Medical last weekend about this exact topic because it wasn't the main theme of the topic, but I addressed this analogy that I always use. So if you live in a place like Florida and you get hit by hurricanes, you have home insurance just in case you get hit by a hurricane and you need that home insurance to rebuild your house, right? So our health insurance is the same thing. If you're an unfortunate trauma victim, or if you unfortunately get cancer, something that's a huge expense, that's what health insurance is for. But going back to the home, if you want to upgrade your house that's built in 1980, and I choose 1980 because that was the year that I was born. So if you have a 44-year-old house that hasn't been upgraded in a while and you want to do new floors and new lighting and just update, it's going to cost money. And your health insurance, your home insurance is not going to pay for it. So your home is your body. And if you're not going to invest in it and make sure that it is in tip-top shape, guess what? Your quality of life is not going to be the best. So I have never felt bad about not taking health insurance because our healthcare system is a sick care system. And I am in the business of getting people healthy, happy, beauty from the inside out.
And I love, love, love that analogy. I was actually no shock to anyone who knows me in my past times, but I was sitting in an Epsom salt bath and I was listening to a podcast or something that you were explaining that on. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was just on the tail end of my own home renovation. And I was thinking, yeah, no one helped me with that.
No.
And it was sacrifice and figuring out where that revenue is going to come from to pay for that upgrade. And it was hard, but I did it because it was important to me and I prioritized it. And I gave up other things in order to have that.
And totally worth it.
So worth it.
Yes.
Home is where the heart is. And I wanted a place that felt really comfortable to me. And so I think that our bodies are what we live in every day. And I get that there's tough situations, but I do also think that there can be slightly sometimes victim mentalities when people start to think, I'd love to be healthy, but my insurance doesn't pay for it. And that really isn't the way that we should be looking at it. And so I just love that analogy.
And I'm going to give tough love. If you're not healthy, it is no one but yourself, your fault. You are the one who chooses what you put in your body every day. Food, if it's real food versus fake food, you are the person who decides if you're going to prioritize moving every day. You are the person that will decide if you're going to prioritize sleep. All of the things that the baseline stuff that is the foundation of health is free.
It's all free.
Yes, it's really much cheaper to eat real whole food instead of all of the packaged crap. I promise you. But it just takes effort. And people have to change that mentality and that victim mindset of, I was raised poor. Okay, are you going to stay in that mindset or are you going to make a change? Because ultimately, how your life looks is ultimately what
your choice.
Up to absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, taking it into that direction, I think that being a female entrepreneur, first of all, did we ever think that was what we were signing up for when we went into medicine? No. But here we are, and talk about the commitment to good choices, to growth. You just came back from 2 back-to-back conferences.
One of which I invited you to be my partner on, but you couldn't because you had so many other things going on.
I know.
It was a good one, though.
I know. And that is so good to know because that is definitely someone that I really look up to in this whole entrepreneurial world. And so I would love to hear insights. First of all, giving you mad props for investing in those things, because not only does it take your time, and I know that you like your downtime / free time, it's a sacrifice of time for you for sure. And you do a really good job at saying no to a lot of things so that you can protect that, which I, again, look to you for. I need to take a page out of that book. And
you're getting better. I will say that.
A little. I'm starting to say no way more. And it's uncomfortable.
It is.
But then also the financial investment, I know what those things cost. And so in pushing yourself way out of your comfort zone, and not to mention what then it looks like when you come home and you have all this new intel, then that's where really the massive time increments come into, where you're really implementing these things and deciding what serves you. So I really would love to hear what your insights were.
For sure. So let's bring this back to the listener. So the listener that is listening to us right now might not be a business owner, but this still applies to you because if you are successful in something, you typically are successful in everything in life. And there are commonalities between successful people. So you and I are successful businesswomen. Now, we still have a lot to learn. If anything I learned last week, I still have a lot of learning to go to be at the next level as far as an entrepreneur and a business owner. But you and I have something in common. We take action. So the moment that we learn something, we don't wait for the perfect time and opportunity to take action. We just take action without really knowing fully what that will look like in the end. But literally, I went to the 2-day thing with Alex Hormozy and Layla Hormozy in Vegas. And then I went to the 3-day thing with World Link Medical. And I came back and we had a meeting on Monday and we had action items that we've already taken steps on. Literally, I think we've already hired another nurse practitioner and another nurse because we need more help. We need more help from like-minded people. But what happens is that people like you and me, we hear something, we see, okay, this is the constraint of me reaching whatever goal, whether it's my health and fitness goal or my business business success goal. We see that constraint. We're like, we have to fix that constraint so we can get to the other side.
Yes.
So taking action.
I think that is so huge. And also, I just did a talk in California not too long ago on visionary leadership, the competition conundrum. And one of the big pieces in that is really that our biggest competition isn't always who we think. It's not the person down the road, which helps us embrace community. But the bigger thing is that our biggest competition is ourselves, self-limiting beliefs, not showing up and doing the little things every day. And that, again, integrates so much into our health and wellness. Like, you have to make the choice to show up and do the little things every day. And if you do that, again, so oftentimes free things, just routine, like commitment to self and feeling good about that. Those are huge things that no one else is willing to show up and do. And I had put in there, fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks, but the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. Like, that is really fuel for success. And I think that, again, brings back, even if you're going to commit to like just a supplement regimen in the morning, such a small thing, but so it sets you up to trickle down and make good decisions for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing. You and I are both, I think, really good at showing people that follow us online that we show up for the little things on a regular basis. Like, you're constantly showing, like, you take care of your skin. Like, here's your regimen. And it's a daily thing. I always see you showing your workouts. The fact that we're walking, like, everyone that follows us knows that we prioritize this because we show up and do the same thing on a regular basis, day in, day out. And that's where people have to start. If they are listening to us and they're like, man, I don't know where to start with those basics. Like, the science behind the 10,000 steps a day was totally made up by some like Japanese, Chinese dude. Like, it was completely just an arbitrary number. So there's really no science behind 10,000 steps. But I think that's a great starting point. Like, any of my patients, whether they be functional medicine, weight loss, or BHRT, I require them to at least start at 10,000 steps a day. Right?
Yes.
But really, what is your average step count? Just out of curiosity.
Mine is probably not as high as yours. It's typically, first of all, when I am walking, my Oura ring doesn't track. So I just got an Apple Watch.
Yes.
Because I got really irritated that when I'm like typing, I don't know if my Apple Watch will do it either. But do you notice that it doesn't?
Oh, 100%. So on admin days like today, totally. So
I'm like swinging my arms. Can you hear me? We froze.
Oh, we did freeze.
But it's okay. They'll cut it out. So you were saying on admin days, what did you do?
Okay, so on admin days, when I know that I'm going to be typing a lot, I put my iWatch around my ankle. But see, yours might, I know. It totally makes a difference. Because if you're not swinging your arms, then the Oura Ring and the iWatch won't pick up. So on admin days that I am literally typing, I will put it around my ankle because I want my step count.
Yes. Okay, so I noticed there's things that massively increase it. So if I walk my dog, if I do a workout that has any sort of walking or slight running, because I'm not a cardio queen, then I'll be like 15,000. But if I don't do those two things, like, I do actually still struggle to get 10,000 unless and most of the time, like I said, it's not registering when I'm doing the walking pad. But type A personalities were like, we know we did it, but we need to see the number.
Totally.
Like, I'm like, I need to see my number.
You can't change anything that you don't track, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be better in business, if you're not tracking your financials, how are you going to get better? If you have weight to lose, if you're not tracking what you're putting in your mouth and how often you're walking and all that kind of stuff, how are you? So, like, literally, it's just another piece of data that helps you on your journey to being the healthiest, happiest version of you.
Yeah.
I can't remember which podcast I listened to, but they were talking about, so this one PhD, he was talking about some research that cited that our ancestors walked between 15,000 and 20,000 steps a day. And I thought that was interesting because by the time I listened to that, I had already observed, not only in my own journey, but in a lot of my weight loss patients' journeys, the ones that average 15,000 steps minimum every day, like, that's their non-negotiable. They hit it no matter what, even on rest days. Those are the ones that have the most success. And me too. Like, I've always been someone that goes to the gym and works out, but I never started caring about the NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, until I did semaglutide. And I did semaglutide from September 2022 to April 2023. And that was when I literally was doing exactly what I was telling my patients to do. And I literally hit 15,000 steps every day. And now 15,000 is my bare minimum. Yes. But there's something magic about that 15,000 step count.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you haven't dipped your toe back into taking it again because you don't need to. You've maintained what you lost. And I think that you're such a good example to your patients that are like, do I have to be on this forever? Is it bad to be on it forever? Are there other benefits? Like, I think that it gives you such a platform to be able to give someone so many different options that
For
is
sure.
really wanting to sign up to be on such an amazing peptide, but then they're worried what's going to happen when I go off of it.
For sure. So let's talk about that, because the peptides, the GLP-1 agonists, are obviously a hot topic. They're definitely a reason why a lot of people might listen to this. And I think that you and I both have a lot of experience in treating patients with it. And then I don't know, did you ever use it yourself? I can't remember if you told me.
So I actually now what I'm doing is I was like real late to the party in terms of this peptide. About 3 years ago, when no one was talking about peptides at all, really, in like even in the functional medicine world, like they weren't something that we reached for as a tool. I started taking Dr. Seed's like classes.
Oh yeah.
I opened an account with Wells back when we had all the glory days of when we had all the peptides.
Yes.
I started using BPC 157, actually, even in my son who had kind of a ASD.
I remember you telling me that.
Looking at the gut and like literally giving him little shots of these peptides. So I used them in my Morton's neuroma, my own gut health, playing around with different ones. And really, the only way to really get good at them back then was like trial and error on yourself. And so I started tracking protocols. Then more books started coming out, which is really amazing. And then not until this past winter, I started to microdose with tirzepatide because I started to really understand the benefits beyond just glycemic control and metabolic optimization and health. And I did feel like a brain fog lift, major anti-inflammatory. I liked the food noise minimization because it helped me really get to those protein goals. And just like you said, with the NEAT and the 10,000 steps, when you're injecting something like that and you're spending the money and the time and the effort and energy, you are going to be more mindful about everything else that you do.
Absolutely. It's a power tool, right? So if you got a huge piece of art that needs to be hung on the wall, if you have an option of a power drill or just a wrench or whatever tool that you would need, you would go for the power tool, right? Because it would make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
The GLP-1s is like your power tool, but you also need other tools in order to hang that, right? You still need the stud finder and the nails and someone else to help make sure that it's whatever, right? So it's a power tool though. It will speed up the process, but it's not a magic tool. So that's why I know you and I both have our non-negotiables that we make our patients do that are on the GLP-1 agonist. And those are the ones that are most successful. Those are the ones that never lose muscle. And obviously, I wish that everyone could get a DEXA scan. Not everyone is close to a place where you offer a DEXA scan. But DEXA scan is obviously one of the most accurate ways to determine if you're not losing muscle and just losing fat. But I'm telling you, so the microdosing of tirzepatide, I'm about to play around with that. I like to play around with different things at different times. Yeah. So you were the one who influenced me to play around with the DHEA Plus from Quicksilver. Yeah. So I started.
It tastes like dirt and garbage mixed together, but it is
maybe worse than that, actually. I always warn patients, I'm like, sorry, this is going to taste like, you know what, but it definitely works. So for the listeners that don't know me, so at 43, I was having terrible insomnia, anxiety. I've never had anxiety before. And I was definitely getting night sweats. And so I decided to start myself on BHRT. I started using injectable testosterone. That was one of the hormones that I was using. And I definitely gained 7 pounds of muscle from December to May. I did a DEXA scan to confirm and everything. And then that's when you introduced me to the Quicksilver line of bioidentical hormones. And I was like, let me just see. So I stopped the injectable testosterone and I started the DHEA. It definitely works. I'll just say that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. In terms of pivoting to that a little bit,
there's so many things we can talk about.
I know. So I feel like you and I both came to the scene and now we want to implement bioidentical hormones, which I think is such a hot topic, but such a necessary topic more than that. Makes me super fiery when people say that we're over medicalizing menopause, perimenopause, hormone replacement, because Dr. Mary Claire Haver says 100% of women go through menopause, 100%.
Yes.
So we're not.
Yes. If you're lucky enough to live to the age, yes, you will guarantee go through it. Yes.
And 100% of us go through perimenopause. And I just feel like I've been given this gift of awareness of what hormones can do, when to implement them. You don't like all the myths that you need to, even if you were going to consider them, you need to wait till they're all gone. And really, even the lab levels. Hello, people, who picked these lab levels? Same thing as the 10,000 steps.
Yes.
I think that when you look at thyroid levels, when you look at your hormone levels, you're really also looking at symptomology and making sure that you're not subclinically suffering from something that there's an easy solution for.
The reference ranges for the labs are for the average American. So I always explain that to my patients when I'm going over labs. I'm like, look, this is for the average American. I am not interested in you being anywhere close to average. I'm interested in you being optimized. Mm-hmm. So there are some labs values that I intentionally want it to be marked as high, and it's going to be bolded and labeled high. And I'm going to be like, yes, we're finally there.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And that's relating even something back to something I learned from Alex Hormozy was like, let's not try to go back and reinvent the wheel and try to pull people away from what is. People are deficient in these hormones, and whether or not it should be that I had zero non-registering testosterone, it was that. Yep. And if I want to, again, fight with the smaller tools and try to do that all day, I can do that. Or I can optimize myself and move on with my life and be able to handle all the challenges that come my way with, by the way, something that naturally is missing from my body.
Absolutely.
So I think that there's this beautiful teetering of all the supportive supplements that we have in our arsenal, but then also having these amazing hormones to give us what we need when we really need it.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know about you, but with our patients, we'll get them super optimized on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which I know both of us love the bioidentical portion. So important.
Which means it equals body identical. Our body makes the exact same chemical structure of these hormones. Yep.
And so many people don't know about that, which I would love to talk about that too. But I really like to look at the whole concept that we're replacing something that is missing from our body, and we're doing it in a way that we're optimizing all other facets, and everything plays really nicely together. And I think that once you get people optimized, something that I've noticed that's still low in women is their libido. Yeah. And that's where I just feel like there's nothing like injectable testosterone.
So optimal testosterone level, and we're just talking total testosterone, because there's actually variabilities between the different labs. So if you're looking at Quest versus LabCorp, totally different range. So overall, the total testosterone, though, is a little bit easier to compare with multiple different labs. But we've seen that optimal total testosterone levels for women is close to 300. So just for people that are listening, if it's above, I think, 89, it's marked, high for a female, which is dumb. Yep. But when the testosterone is optimized, like I always tell my BHRT patients, look, we're trying to get your hormones back to the level that they were when you were at your peak optimized hormone state, which is 19 or 20 years old, right? Yeah. So if you were to measure a 19 or 20-year-old female's testosterone, it would be close to 300.
Yeah.
And so that's oftentimes where the libido is back. All of the wonderful, glorious things about testosterone.
Yeah. So I am so glad that we're on the same page in terms of that, because I feel like literally experts in our industry that are also coming to the forefront with their own opinion are like, what are you doing? This would only be a testosterone if you were trying to transition to a man. Like that is, to me, so wrong, because again, stop looking at the lab levels and look at the patient right in front of you.
Thank you.
I actually do need a level of testosterone to start to see the full picture of the benefits to come back. Like for my libido to be good, it does have to be in the high 200s to 300.
Exactly. And here's the thing. We women are so gaslit, because if any man wasn't able to get their morning whatever, it would be all stops. Let's fix this. But then a woman is just, oh, your labs are fine. I don't care that your libido is not back. What?
And the other thing is, I'm not having cystic acne. I'm not growing facial hair. I'm not growing a penis. So I think that
clitoromagaly is the proper term.
But I think that obviously that goes into the whole clinical picture. Okay, labs are one piece of it, and thank God we have them. but I really love that we get to bring back critical thinking. And those are the best practitioners to me. And I love that we have this new space where we all get to come to the drawing board and share our experiences with each other. Speaking of that, are you using the oral testosterone from Quicksilver?
I'm not. So right now I offer 2 delivery mechanisms, and I'm about to get trained for the 3rd, even though it's my least favorite delivery mechanism, which you're smiling because you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So the 3 ways that I offer or will offer in the next month testosterone delivery is cream, injectable, or pellets. So I haven't done the oral yet. The cream is my favorite because it best mimics the daily ebb and flow of testosterone when you were 19, 20, right?
Yeah.
The once a week injection, and some people divide it and do it every 3 to 4 days. So it's a little bit less of the peak day 1 and then trough day 7.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes as with the pellet. It's peak at day 1 and then 3 to 4 months later, it's super trough. And it's not physiologic. It's not matching what the body naturally does. But the pellets, it's convenient for a lot of people, or like the female or the male that's in a nursing home that would benefit from all of it's not just for libido. Testosterone is helpful on so many different playing fields. So I think a lot of people think that the only reason a female should be on testosterone is decrease libido.
No, like sarcopenia, like the biggest thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the maintaining our skeletal muscle and that being just the currency of our lives in anti-aging is so important. So I will tell you, you're not missing anything. That was what the oral testosterone from Quicksilver was supposed to be, is like mimicking that daily.
Right.
But I will tell you, and I always speak honestly, I love my Quicksilver products, but I will tell you that it pales in comparison to the results we see from the testosterone cypionate, which is the injectable. Yeah. And I think that they'll appreciate that feedback and go back to the drawing board potentially and keep working on it, in my opinion. But I took it myself, which I love that we both get to be these, with everything, the
guinea pigs.
We get to be the guinea pigs. And really, aren't you so glad that you know what GLP-1s feel like?
Totally. I've had so many people that have told me, I decided to try it after hearing you talk about your experience with it. And I think that both you and I are really good about just being this is
because there's still a stigma about it.
Exactly.
And people are shocked when they find out even that someone like us was or is on it, even in a microdose form. I've never been able to, and I don't need to go above 2 milligrams of tirzepatide. Right. And I actually don't even take it every single week. And there's no data on that in terms of what that's doing or what it does, but I feel good on it. And I think when you
can't deny that.
No, it is what it is. And I feel like I have a lease on life back that I didn't have when I had 2 babies that were back to back, young, and feeling, okay, I'm having night sweats. Every time I wake up, I literally would think when I woke up, I can't wait until they take a nap. I'm so excited for bed tonight.
Are you kidding?
Yes, that is literally what I would feel every single day. And
I wonder how many listeners can relate with that feeling. Like, that's so foreign to me, but that's how many postpartum moms that have little children, that's their reality. It doesn't have to be that way, people. No. It doesn't.
And so, like, the one thing that I try to get out to postpartum moms, even I've had people that are pregnant reaching out to me, like, how far after I have the baby, like, can I be breastfeeding and come in? I'm like, yes, because immediately postpartum, girl, you might need a little topical progesterone to put on so that you can support what is crashing in your body. So you're not waking up in those drenching night sweats and feeling, I felt horrible. And they were like testing my blood to see if I lost too much during my delivery.
Yeah, for sure.
When it probably was all crashing hormones that our OBs aren't equipped with teaching us about or have the resources to help us.
One of the stories that stuck in my brain of part 1 of my BHRT training with WorldLink was the story of the postpartum woman who comes into the emergency room, and as I'm about to drive myself off the cliff with my kids, because that's how bad her postpartum depression was. And the story of how Dr. Rouzier actually keeps IM progesterone in his pocket because the hospital won't keep it on formulary. But that literally is the problem in the postpartum time. You go through the 9 months with progesterone and then just a complete drop in progesterone postpartum. And literally that can lead to severe anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. And so I use it. He's an ER physician and he uses it about once or twice a year, but he literally has a high dose of IM progesterone for pretty much the suicidal suicidal postpartum mom who literally is, I'm done.
I remember you telling that
saves their
story.
lives.
And she called him back or followed up with him and was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
But that woman would have been sent home with some Xanax, PRN, and some sertraline or something like Zoloft. Here you go, honey. Like this is normal. It's so unfortunate, but I'm so glad that we have had every life experience and every health crisis I've had in my own family has led me to this place. And so it's super relatable. Okay. When people are in your DMs or in your comment section, like I tried semaglutide, but I just was nauseous and tired all the time. That's why I love your essential or your non-negotiables. We call them essential commitments. And I would love for you to just re-emphasize and drive that home for everyone what they are and why people are feeling that way.
Absolutely. So I've treated now over 1,000 patients in my weight loss program. And it is consistently like the two number one reasons why people get nauseated when they start semaglutide is because of the side effect of the appetite suppression makes people not eat. So they skip meals. They're not hitting any protein goals. So they become hypoglycemic. So their blood sugar drops really low. And all of us medical providers know that a sign of hypoglycemia is nausea, the body's way of saying, feed me, dang it, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other side effect is that it can suppress your thirst. So a lot of people that don't have a good habit of hydration will just not even think about it, won't drink. And then all of a sudden they get hypovolemic. So basically volume goes low because they're not adequately hydrating. And us medical providers know a side effect of hypovolemia is nausea. You want to prevent it. So I make my patients, I give every single one a protein goal. So let's just use 120 pounds, right? If your ideal body weight is 120 pounds, then that's how many grams of protein you eat. So you have to eat 3 meals. 120 divided by 3 is 40. So 3 meals, 40 grams, about 5 hours apart. Because remember, GLP-1s slow down the gastric emptying. So you can't eat those 3 meals like back to back because you'll still have food in your belly. So I tell all of them, you have to eat at least that minimum protein goal and you have to stay proactive in your hydration. So I always tell patients, use electrolytes at least once a day, preferably first thing when you wake up, because when you wake up, you've been without water all night. So you wake up naturally dehydrated. The habit that really served me when I was on semaglutide is that my 40-ounce water bottle, I already had this habit in place. I get through it 3 times a day. The first 2 hours, I get through the first time. The second 4 hours, I get through the bottle number 2. And then from noon till the rest of my day, I drink the third one. So I'm not up all night peeing. Yeah. So it's 120 ounces, almost a gallon a day. But that habit really served me to never get nauseated when I was on that. And I would say 99% of patients, if they are doing those 2 of my non-negotiables, most people prevent the nausea and vomiting that come along with the GLP-1s.
Which is crazy. And I love the habit that you had too. I had some kind of like preconceived notions, myths floating around my head about creatine. And you were someone that I like. It's amazing when you have those people in the industry that you trust and you trust their opinion and their insights on research and health and data. And so you reignited, because I used to use creatine when I was just working out and trying to look good. But in terms of feeling good, I started to incorporate that first drink as well with the scoop of creatine. You like the Thorn one too as well, right? Totally. And then I love the Perfect Aminos electrolytes because they have that amino acid composition that you need. And so those scoops, and then I put a little of my gut prebiotic powder because I'm taking my blood. So it's like you get your little concoction. And honestly, that's another reason to work out because that first water bottle goes down real fast.
It's real fast. Yeah, you actually turned me on to the Perfect Aminos when we were in Florida.
So good. I know I tried to give it to you and you ride your bike everywhere. You didn't even have a place to put your...
I really want to take these with me, but...
So good. And they're just like, you can shoot them back if you don't like the taste or mix them in with some of your other stuff. But that is such a good tool to get that protein composition up. And it's almost like you take that one and forget it and let your food be the rest of your protein, but it's amazing.
How do you personally, and how do you tell your patients to hit their protein goal? I'm just curious.
So I always tell them, because I feel like 120 grams can be daunting too. And so I just give basically most people the range to remember 100 to 120. I think 120 is probably obviously much better, but I'm like, I never want someone to feel like, okay, I didn't do this. So now I'm such an all or nothing person. And so I'm like, I really need to work on that. But I don't know if there's any hope for me being 41.
Probably not.
But I try to share meals that I'm making that are like, you do that as well. I shared it in like a highlight reel and just like letting people know that you don't have to be perfect with it. You don't need a chef. You don't need, as long as you're eating clean, organic food, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to be something that you're willing to consume and that you hopefully enjoy, and getting creative with it. Like, it's summer. Last night, my husband made me 2 chicken sausages from Trader Joe's, those little organic ones, and a hamburger with some cheese on it. And that's what I ate for dinner.
I love it.
My kids ate it too. Like, you're setting them up for good protein goals as well, which is great.
Absolutely. One of the best gifts that my parents gave me were they lived a healthy example my whole life. They've always exercised. They've always eaten healthy. And that was a huge blessing because most people don't have that growing up. So you and your husband are teaching your kids by living by example. I love that.
And also, we are gluten-free too, which was a little bit of a challenge being in Florida. And I thought Florida would be so much more friendly to the gluten-free lifestyle. But it's, again, if you want something bad enough, like my daughter has a severe allergy to gluten, we uncovered. My son, more so like for the gut support, like he doesn't need any of that inflammation going on. I was struggling with SIBO right before we went down to Florida, and I was healing it in Florida, and I healed it all the way without any antibiotics, like 100% natural. And then my husband God bless him, he just tries to follow everything that we're doing.
Of course.
They just have to go for the ride.
Can I say how cute your daughter is on your Instagram, helping with the postage?
She's an angel. I
love that.
She is so sweet. My kids are homeschooled. And so that afforded us the blessing to be able to go to Florida as well. And it's so interesting to watch them be able to creatively, freely learn. For 3 hours, my son might be Googling on his iPad how to draw the Hulk. And he sits there and has the attention span. But when I look at him in certain situations and he doesn't have the attention span, I'm like, I know you have it, but you want to choose what you want to learn, and that's okay.
Exactly. If I had kids, I would totally do it like that too. I think that's the best way to learn.
It's amazing. And then we go to the office and pick up like deposits and take them to the bank, and they're asking questions about what we're doing. And they like to watch like the presidential debate. Like they're funny and they're like little adults. And it's just really cool to watch them become passionate about what they want to learn about.
Yeah, for sure. So and they're so freaking cute. Oh my gosh. You've got really cute kids. Yeah.
Thank you.
So can we talk about Florida?
I was just going to say that. Yes. Okay.
So you and I both escaped to Florida because you're in Michigan. I'm in the Chicagoland area. And both are notoriously terrible places to live, especially in January, February.
Yes.
I'm originally from Texas, so I am not built to live in the winter, but I understand that a lot of people that are born in this feel the same way, even though that's all you've known. So for me, when I moved to the Chicagoland area, my first winter was 2019 when the polar vortex hit. And where I was living, the wind chill factor was -67. And I literally was questioning my decision to move where I moved to.
That's like Alaska.
It is. I didn't realize that it got that cold in mainland United States. It was terrible. So every single winter since, I've been like, I've got to get out. Like, I'm just not built for this. So this past winter, I asked my staff, I'm like, what would you think about me seeing my patients only via telemedicine and getting out for a couple of months? And you did the same thing. You got to Florida, a couple weeks after I did, right?
At the beginning of January.
And you were there for 2 months total?
No, about 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay. That's right. And I ended up extending and I stayed until the end of April. So I was there for 4 months.
Amazing.
And I know both of us went with the idea of maybe we might want to open up a spot there. And so it's funny because we both had our own epiphanies. So where are you at right now in that thought process?
So I'm in a place that is hard to be in, but I think that we need to welcome more, is like just being unsure of what the future holds.
I needed to hear that.
It's okay to get all woo, but I did meet with this woman that like reads your auras and your energies and looks at like maybe your different like angels and spirit guides that you have around you. And I was like, okay, I thought I was going down to Florida. I was going to put another location there. like everything lined up. Like I had homeschooled my kids.
Yeah.
I'm able to do it. I have friends there. Like then other friends were there. Like it just seemed so aligned, right?
Yeah,
But then
totally.
as soon as I got down there, it was hard. It actually was hard. I was in a little bit of a funk. As soon as I got down there, some things happened internally with my team that we had to fly back and manage. And I was just thinking, wow, this is a lot to manage from afar. And then there's always reverberations with those things. And
Absolutely.
so feeling the lack of control, but also the win would be then testing all my systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I came home, I wasn't like, wow, that was so fun. I was so grateful for the experience, but it was a lot to move my family to an Airbnb, to move them all back. My dog the entire time had allergies to Florida air.
Frankie.
And he had, luckily I found this natural vet doctor that like was like his guts messed up. And finally, when he got back here, he is better and doing so well. But I just was like, almost mad at myself that I didn't have everything in stone of how I was going to return. And I had a complete lack of patience for the process, complete lack of patience for what God's plan is for my life. And so I'm now the place that I'm sitting in is I'm so grateful for that experience. I don't want to be here in the winter, but I'm praying for discernment on how to move in that way. And also let's just appreciate maybe that why couldn't I have a Michigan flagship that does really well? And I just have a place in Florida that I am allowed to go to without creating a whole nother business down there.
Yes.
And I think I'm like I think we're high achievers and think we have to justify something nice for ourselves. I'm like, who's to say we have to create another business to be down there? So I'm sitting in that.
I'm literally at almost the exact same spot. I was actually supposed to be in Tampa today looking at property, and I decided to cancel last minute because I'm like, I'm not feeling like that's where I'm supposed to be right now. That doesn't mean not in the future, because I definitely do not want to be here in the winter on a regular basis. I might have to be here in the winter of next year, and I'm okay with that because I feel like if I'm going to scale and do another Laura Marmed or 2 or 3 or whatever, I got to get all of my systems nailed down here. And we're not nailed down with all the systems yet. So I feel like I might need to stay here for this coming winter, which it's far away, but you and I both know it creeps up very fast. But I think that for the listener who's listening to this conversation, I can't relate to that at all. Yes, you can, because anytime that you have a potential to make a major change in life, fear is something that holds a lot of people back. And the fear of the unknown, of not knowing, like, how is it going to turn out? And you and I are both at this place where I don't know what my life is going to look like in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. But what I do know is that what it's going to look like is going to have everything to do with the decisions I make today and then tomorrow and then the next day. And fear is not going to hold me back. That's the place where I know that I can do big things with other like-minded people. And there's so many people that need help from people like you and me. And we have this big vision, but how to manifest that isn't quite completely clear yet.
Yeah. And I think actually you do a really good job at not trying to I feel like I come out of the gate and I'm like, here's all my idea. Like I'm such a visionary and I have a really hard time implementing. And I think you carry a really good balance of those two things.
Thank you.
And so I think that discernment comes from a really good place. And I think sometimes the relatability, there's again, no mistake in the relatability of being like, it is okay to like plan for the future and take some time to put the work in, because God willing, we have that time. And so what are you going to do with it? And I think it's continuing. And also not getting stuck. There's a really good book called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan, which I just joined his strategic coach group, which I think you would love. Really amazing coaching for any entrepreneurs in any field. And there's a really good book about talking about, are you living in the gap or are you living in the gain? Meaning that, are you looking at the things that you haven't accomplished, or are you sitting in the things that you have accomplished and constantly reflecting at how far you've come? And then also able to reflect, where do you want to go? Where are you not yet? And so I think that's a really powerful thing to do, and to anyone to give themselves that space to really look at, what have I achieved, and then celebrate that And
Yes.
then look at
Sometimes that's hard for people like you and me.
It is hard because we're just like, what's next? What's next?
Exactly.
And then look at what are your goals, and then how do you reverse engineer to get to those goals, and keeping that in the forefront of our mind. And yeah, I don't know that the effort and energy of trying to get down to Florida and spending so much money in an Airbnb, but, it's okay. I want to be there, but it would make way more sense to buy there. But like, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready on so many levels. And I'm probably in the same place as you. I'll probably still value a couple of week vacations with my family here and there, but not that whole commitment of shipping everything for my family of 5, including Frankie, down to Florida.
Yeah. I didn't have a family of 5. I took my 2 dogs, but that was still a little painful. Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah.
It is.
And you did a really good job of, you sat in it. And I don't know, what are your insights from going down there?
My insights are, I am really blessed to have good people that work for me. We are a team, and there was never a time where I was worried about anything major because I wasn't here. This is my first time that I've been in a sunny place during the winter. So I have learned that about myself. No matter how much vitamin D and red light therapy I have, I still get seasonal affective disorder. And this was the first winter that I didn't in a long time. Yeah. So I need that. And so I'm hoping that this next winter is my last one in the Chicagoland area. And then after that, I can open up a place in a sunnier place, whether it be St. Pete or Texas or wherever. I need the sun in the winter time. Yeah. And then I feel like I learned where some of my weaknesses were that I wasn't quite aware of. And then some of my strengths that really helped me stay successful while I was doing telemedicine for 4 months. Yeah. So it was a growing time for me, for sure.
Yeah. So it wasn't super comfy for you either.
No, definitely not. Definitely
not.
And
I think that the perception is, look at that. They're down there on the beach walking. But it was, first of all, it was cold there. I'm going to be honest.
All the locals were like, you picked the worst winter to come. This is the coldest temperature. I'm like, it's still not Chicago. So
now,
I'm okay with that.
You just learned to love to fish recently. Did you learn that there or when you came back?
Yes, I learned that there. And fishing in the ocean is way more fun than fishing in a creek or a river. I'm literally walking distance next to the Fox River from my spa. And so I fished in the Fox River a few times, and it's just not as fun as fishing in the ocean. But I think it's a great habit or a hobby for someone like you and me that just, it makes you slow down, be outside in nature, and be patient, because fishing takes patience.
That's what golf has done for me, is like being outside. That. It's like one-on-one time with my husband, or with my husband and my kids, or with Chelsea, my best friend that you met. Yeah. Like, it's really nice to have that. And it's a really frustrating game. So it teaches you patience, and it teaches you may have just, and it sounds so silly, but you may have hit just a horrible shot and you're embarrassed, or you're golfing with other people or whatever, but you got to shake it off and pick yourself up and get to the next one. And so and
the only way you're going to get better is keep doing it over and over again.
So see how fishing, golf, like these adult sports, they're really good lessons.
These adult sports. Yeah. We're at that place where we need that kind of stuff for sure.
Yes. Okay, what would be, I think, closing out, do you know what your 3-year vision would be for Laura Marmed that you would want to share?
I do, just because I just got off of those 2 business conferences. And the Alex Hormone one, there are actually 5 or 6 other medical providers that were very like-minded. It was mostly non-medical people, but I was actually very surprised to meet other like-minded medical providers that kind of wanted the same thing. Like, you've been failed by the Western medicine model, and you have a vision, and you realize there's so many people suffering from it. And I just want to use the gifts and knowledge that I have to help other people. And then I went to WorldLink Medical, which is all medical providers that are like-minded. And just seeing that, I realized there is enough need for all of us to join forces and just rise the tide, right? So I want to be one of those influential people that make the change of the tide, of literally giving people all of the tools so that they can take back their health and wellness. Yeah. And so in 3 years from now, I would love to have multiple like-minded providers that are on the same page, that want to use all of the tools that we have at our Western medicine and functional medicine to give patients to really just take hold and gain back their happiness, because I really don't believe you can be happy if you're not healthy. So that's whether it's 5 locations or 10, I don't really care. I know that I've got to have multiple like-minded people that have the same goal, as to just help change the world, as cheesy as that sounds.
Oh, it's not cheesy at all. Now, big question. Do you see yourself as you scale this team stepping back from patient care to be able to build and scale those things? Or do you feel like you'll always stand in patient care a little bit?
It's interesting because just this morning I talked to an MD who he has an incredible establishment with male hormones, and he was talking about partnering with me about doing the female side. And I was like, I'm interested. Definitely. We're like-minded. He's been following me. He didn't even know how he followed me, but I like your energy. You're like-minded. He's in North Carolina. And he asked me, he goes, do you still see patients? I'm like, absolutely. And I love seeing patients. Like, that's the thing. It's crazy because as an anesthesiologist, you don't get a relationship with patients. You meet them 15 minutes before you put them to sleep. And then that's that. And they never remember you unless you're OB anesthesia. They always remember the anesthesiologist that puts the good epidural in. But for the most part, you don't get relationships with the patients.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize like how much I was missing out on that. So I can tell you stories of my patients because I've created a relationship with them on the journey. And I don't think I ever want to give that up. But I do know that in order to establish the big vision, I am going to have to step back a little bit on that side. But I don't think I'll ever fully give it up because I really do love it. What about you?
In terms of a 3-year vision, we have a very similar. So I definitely want to have more locations, but I am in the same boat where I still feel like I have to scale a lot of processes and get better at certain things like onboarding multiple team members at once, creating the infrastructure to make that seamless. I need to find a lot more who's in my life. So meaning not how do I do more, finding who can be aligned and carry that same vision. And I need a lot of mentoring. I'm very aware of what I don't know, and I'm excited for the growth opportunity of what I will know. And I think with that will come a lot of clarity. And I think being open to beyond just having my vision and my mission written out, revisiting that, saying it's okay to change your mind and appreciate, I'm not just going to drive forward and say I'm opening a place in Florida because that's what I said last year. And so not being wishy-washy, but being very mindful and thinking of all the moving parts and how I'm evolving as well. And then in terms of patient care, I actually, one of the hardest things I've ever done is take my incredible revenue generating potential and literally shut it down. And I did it because I was willing to put the time and the work and show up to really stop growth and put scale in mind. And honestly, it's a constant temptation to go back to it because I'm really good at it. And sometimes I'm like, if I just saw aesthetic patients and did full facial balancing all day long, first of all, the patients are there. And that is the home in Florida or whatever. But I really am careful to never see revenue or my lifestyle in terms of thing that I provide. I actually don't care about revenue at all, which I should, but I just want to do what I want to do. And I know that the success will follow. And there's a temptation to go back to that. And then there's an excitement of seeing functional patients. And then I have a huge passion for the regenerative side. And I'm still winding through a lot of that because there's a lot of buzz in that part of the medical world. And I want to make sure that I'm compliant with law and those sorts of things. And so just being a thought leader in it and being aware of what current legislature is and being aware of evolving product and the potential to help people. And at the end of the day, what I think both of us want is we really want to help people. And we've been given this open mind to realize what is possible. And I think that even because we're in it every day, we forget maybe that people don't know what is possible in terms of being well. And so that just tugs at my heartstrings.
So true. You don't know what you're missing until you get there and you're like, how have I gone this long without feeling good?
Or how do relationships sustain?
Oh man.
I always tell people, I told my husband the other day, I'm like, now that both of us are hormonally optimized, I've always had a pretty good marriage, but every relationship, there's ups and downs. And I told my husband, man, remember this time or that? I'm like, I wonder if we were just so hormonally not optimized.
Totally.
And I think everyone I leave you with this, everyone that's that's contemplating divorce, get your hormones checked.
Oh my gosh. That was a theme last weekend at the World Link Medical.
I
literally
swear.
These providers that have been doing it forever, the stories of marriages that were saved because both partners got their hormones. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
All of us go into medicine because we want to make a difference, right?
Yeah. I mean, think of it. Midlife crisis. What is that? That's literally
hormones.
Hormones. It's
totally
crazy. It is so crazy. Of course, there's other reasons that people don't do well together. But I mean, it has to be something that is looked at. And I want everyone to feel empowered, to really feel comfortable to ask those questions, to feel comfortable with providers that are walking the walk and living the life, and that are appearing to have the vision of bringing that vision of really, truly caring about people, so that more people, it's like the more models there are like your practice and my practice, the more it's like Starbucks and it's on every corner, and then everyone's
Exactly. And I want to address the whole, it's a natural part of life. Look, all of the endocrine disruptors, so the hormone disruptors that our body is hit with day in, day out, especially living here in the United States, toxins in the air, toxins in our food, toxins in the products we put on our body, toxins in the clothes that we put on our body, all of the things, like our bodies were not created to get all of those toxins day in, day out, day in, day out. So what is normal now was not normal 100 years ago.
Right.
Our hormones were definitely better off than they are now in 2024. So someone like me, I've always relatively eaten healthy. I've always exercised, but I've still been exposed to a lot of fake foods that I thought was healthy, but really not, and all of the things. So right now at 44, I am hormonally optimized, but I take natural desiccated thyroid. I take oral micronized progesterone. I take testosterone. I take DHEA. I'm not on estradiol yet because I'm not menopausal, but best you believe that when I hit that 12-month mark with no period and I'm officially menopausal, I will be on oral estradiol as well, because that is how I'm going to feel my best for the rest of how many decades God gives me on this earth.
Yeah.
So it's a choice.
It is a choice. And I love that we have the choice and that we have this platform to help. I hope from this conversation, besides the fact that I just got to catch up with you and kill two birds with one stone, because it's so lovely to be in your presence.
I feel the same way.
Besides for that, I just hope that there's those aha moments for people like, oh my gosh, I feel like that
yes,
they can grab the bull by the horns and take control of their health as well.
Yes, absolutely. I just adore you. I know you know that, but I just want to say it again. You're just an incredible human, and more like-minded people like us need to just band together, and we can change the world. I do believe it.
I do too. Thank you for having this chat with me today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too, and hope the listeners enjoyed. And obviously for your listeners, y'all can follow me and vice versa. My followers follow her. You and I share stuff all the time. So we probably have some of the same followers, but
I'm sure. But I will put all of the ways to get in touch with Dr. Fitzgerald in our show notes so that you can make sure that you stay in touch with all the amazing thing that she's doing as well.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, and I appreciate you.
Adios, amigos.
And that's a wrap on another enriching episode of the Curated Beauty podcast. If today's conversations resonated with you, I urge you to share it with someone you believe could benefit from it. Let's spread the beauty, knowledge, and empowerment far and wide. For more in-depth resources, information about who we are, or if you're interested in becoming a patient or training directly with me or one of my team, visit our website at beautyculturespa.com. Don't forget to stay connected with us on Instagram for all the latest updates, behind the scenes, and beauty wisdom. Follow us at beautyculture.medspa and at B Cultured Wellness. That's the letter B, Cultured Wellness. Thank you for being with us today. Keep curating your beauty both inside and out. Until next time.